When you finish a great video game, all you want is more of that game. Usually you wait for a sequel, but sometimes you don't get them, no matter how long you wait. Here are 15 of those games that have kept us on edge waiting for sequels for way too long. I'm Danger Dolan, and today, I will be your narrator.
Number 15.
Half-Life 2. The wait for Half-Life 3 has gone on for so long with no news. The confirmation of Half-Life 3 is now just a meme instead of actually being a real thing. The reality is, Half-Life 3 is unlikely to happen anytime in the near future or ever, because nobody at Valve wants to do it. And since Valve employees get to work on whatever they feel like, if nobody wants to make it, it's not going to happen. Besides, Gabe Newell is already one of the richest people in America just because his company runs Steam.
Number 14.
Eternal Darkness, SANITY'S Requiem. In 2002, Nintendo wanted a game that would help them appeal to an aging gaming audience. They got Eternal Darkness, SANITY'S Requiem, Resident Evil type survival horror game that wasn't a commercial success, but has since become a cult hit. There was no news of a sequel until Nintendo announced that the sequel had been in works, but had been cancelled. Developer Silicon Knights went bankrupt in 2013, prompting several of its former employees to reform as a new company and attempt to crowdfund a sequel. Those crowdfunding efforts have fallen well short of their goal, but Nintendo has been renewing the license for the Eternal Darkness name for the last 10 years, so maybe someday.
Number 13.
The Legend of Dragoon. Right around the time Final Fantasy hype was hitting a fever pitch in the West, Sony capitalized on the RPG rush with The Legend of Dragoon. It did well for Sony, and its producer, Shuhei Yoshida, went on to become president of Sony Computer Entertainment. There was a sequel in development for a time, but it was cancelled before it was even officially announced.
Number 12.
Jet Set Radio. Sega's unusual mashup of hip-hop culture, inline skating and graffiti painting is still one of the most unique and unusual properties you'll find. And since the 2002 Xbox exclusive remake, Jet Set Radio Future, the series has been dormant, despite consistent fan calls for a sequel. This is one of the many examples of Sega creating a popular new IP, only to bury it in their backyard while people ask them for more. It's like how fans ask for a new Metroid game and then they release one and no one buys it.
Number 11.
Vagrant Story. Like The Legend of Dragoon, this is an RPG that came out in 2000, late in the PlayStation's lifespan. It had much of the Final Fantasy Tactics team behind it, featured a unique tactical battle system that involved only one character in their party. And then it just sort of disappeared. Came and went, was basically never heard from again. But hey, if Square Enix is breathing new life into FF7, why not Vagrant Story? The original game is actually a better fit for the action-oriented style Square Enix is known for now.
Number 10.
Perfect Dark. Of all the games on this list, this might be the one that needs the reboot treatment. See, people love Perfect Dark, and there were 2 sequels in the works, but then Microsoft acquired Rare, and we got Perfect Dark Zero, the awful Xbox 360 prequel. That basically killed any momentum the series may have had. Still, the love for the original is there, and a return to form would be welcome to fans. Problem is, Rare still owns the license, but the company currently known as Rare has been gutted of all its original talent.
Number 9.
When the Wii U came out, it seemed like the perfect platform for a new Pokemon Snap. Considering Nintendo's obsession with using the goddamn Wii U gamepad's gyro aiming functions, cough cough Star Fox Zero, ugh. Why not make it a camera to photograph Pokemon? They did it for that Project Zero game, and that worked really well. At one point, Nintendo even announced they were bringing Pokemon Snap to Virtual Console with some upgrades. But it turned out they were just talking about some basic online functions, so we're all still stuck with Pokemon Go.
Number 8.
BioWare says they'd love to make a new Jade Empire game, you know, when they're not busy making Mass Effect and Dragon Age, which is basically never. Since those are established cash cow franchises and BioWare is now owned by EA, it's doubtful we'll ever see a return to the lesser known world of Jade Empire. Maybe a HD remake at the very least.
Number 7.
Grim Fandango. Like Psychonauts, this is a Double Fine game that came out to broad appeal, but little commercial success. Psychonauts is getting a sequel, and while Grim Fandango got a remastered edition, there hasn't been any noise regarding a sequel. Chances are there likely won't be until Double Fine finishes work on Psychonauts in 2018, and that's at the earliest.
Number 6.
World of Warcraft. In 2004, Blizzard changed the landscape of the online gaming industry forever, and it's largely still running on that same framework that it came out with well over a decade ago. The game is still getting a regular feed of updates and expansions, and still has a pretty significant subscriber base, so is there any real need for a WoW 2? Or is everyone just cool to keep writing out the original? Maybe it's better just get Warcraft 4.
Number 5.
At the mere mention of Battletoads, most people have a sort of love-hate reaction. They remember having fun with the game, but they also fucking hate it. At this point, it's one of Rare's most deeply buried franchises, but it did get a cameo appearance in Xbox One Edition of Shovel Knight, and in the Ready Player One movie. Also, Rash is a playable character in Killer Instinct, so it kinda looks like Microsoft is more concerned with pimping out Battletoads characters than, just making a new game. But it will forever live on as a meme.
Number 4.
Speaking of old platformers that border on ungodly levels of difficulty, the Ghosts and Goblins series is about due for a revisit. Super Ghouls and Ghosts came out in 1991, and aside from a PSP reimagining of the series in 2006, and a pair of mobile games in 2009-10, the series has been largely untouched since. Might be a tough sell now to pitch a game you have to beat twice in order to finish it, but in a post-Dark Souls world, people are looking for a challenge, right?
Number 3.
Skies of Arcadia. Here lies another beloved Sega franchise buried under a non-existent marketing campaign and the utter misfortune of being on the Dreamcast. Skies of Arcadia is a good game that just doesn't pull in any good sales. It joins Jet Set Radio, Valkyria Chronicles, Space Channel 5 and Crazy Taxi as Sega franchises that debuted to critical acclaim, but most of its fans didn't discover until years later, because Sega is just shit at marketing games. But hey, at least Vice and Aika got a cameo appearance in Valkyria Chronicles.
Number 2.
Killer 7. Suda51's creepy Resident Evil-like shooter was like Kill Bill combined with a near-future political thriller, the psychological horror thrown in just cause. Suda really wants to make another one, but Capcom owns the license, and he doesn't work for Capcom anymore, so it's not gonna happen. And no, despite looking almost exactly the same, having a similar name, and sharing the same director, Suda would like you to know that Killer is Dead is not a sequel to Killer 7. Wink wink.
Number 1.
When Chrono Trigger was in development, its codename was The Dream Project. Square assembled some of the greatest minds in game development to make a game that has held up as an all-time great for more than 2 decades. Then, 10 years later, they made Chrono Cross, which is widely considered a good game, but kind of a bad sequel. It's debatable whether it even is a sequel, so loosely based. What isn't debatable is that one of the best RPG franchises ever conceived is stalled at 2 games. 3 if you include the Japan-only text adventure Radical Dreamers for the Satellaview. At this point, it looks unlikely we'll ever get to see a new Chrono game. There's always the Crimson Echoes fan game. This video was made possible by our fans over on Patreon. Thanks for your support, guys. That is it for this countdown. Have a good one!